Good job on that. But why do I think women shouldn't vote? Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I think women shouldn't vote. So you did a lot of hard work trying to get Trump reelected. You're very pro-Trump. And you want to help Republicans, right? And part of the reason you don't like this gender war is because you're like, look, this is a terrible position for the right. You're alienating all the female voters, right?
Yes, that's partially correct, yeah.
If women didn't vote anymore, we would never have another Democrat president. We would never have another Democrat Senate, and we would never have another Democrat Congress.
You're right. You're right, Rachel. You're absolutely right.
So that's one of the reasons that because of the values I hold, which are actually a lot more conservative, even though I don't like the term, I don't really care about Republicans versus Democrats. I think that the big tent Republicanism is just liberalism at a slower speed, like what you believe in. I don't believe in that. I'm a patriarchist, I'm an Orthodox Christian. I would be a monarchist if I could. But if we care about the things we say we care about, like small government, letting women vote ensures you will never have that again. The reason the 19th Amendment was passed was because the progressive era liberals wanted to pass the income tax. They wanted to pass the Federal Reserve Act. They wanted a nanny state with welfare, and they wanted pro-immigration open borders. And they knew that if you only let men vote, you're never going to get that agenda passed. The whole progressive agenda would have never been passed without women voting.
Okay.
And that's why I think that we should have some kind of restriction, as we had at the founding, where it's not just one person, one vote. There's a lot of ways you could do that. I'm not saying you have to just say no females voting, although I think that's a great idea, for a lot of reasons that we can get into. But you could do things like net positive taxpayers. You could do anything where you have to have skin in the game. But
I agree with the net.
if what you care about is keeping this conservative agenda that you say you want for us and the social and fiscal conservatism, the fastest way to ensure that you never get that passed is letting women vote.
Yes, Rachel, that is factually correct because most women vote left-wing, right? Even though most white women do vote Republican after
their
the
husband
1980s
because of their
for
husbands.
president. But
Because of their husbands.
You're making the argument that because people disagree with my personal political beliefs, that I should take away their right to vote. I'd like to, and I disagree with that. I think that the way to get people to vote how I want them to is by arguing that my ideas are better than somebody else's, not taking away somebody else's right to vote. Because then you'd have to make the argument, Rachel, that we should take away people's rights to vote, or that would be a good thing.
Why?
Because
Why would we have
let
to
me
say that?
finish. Because
False
black people
dialectic.
vote 80 to 90% Democrat in
False dialectic.
obviously position to have. You don't tell people, and your ultimate solution isn't to stop people from voting because you don't get what you
Shouldn't
want.
have done it.
It's making arguments to convince said people that your ideas are better.
Oops.
Well, I don't give a crap about democracy. I don't like
Okay.
I'm not a democracy enjoyer.
Okay.
I know that
Go to Iran?
I know
don't
you think that's
Cuba.
Americanism, like the American ethos.
So many places.
America was not founded as a democracy. And if you went to school for this, I would expect that you would know more about this. It was not a universal suffrage democracy. It was a very extremely limited suffrage representative republic. That's not what we have now. So I am, if you want to call me the
Constitutional republic.
traditionalist,
Constitutional
it's a
republic.
representative republic.
It's a constitutional republic because the Constitution guarantees that individual rights aren't trampled upon, right? And that we still have certain things that we do vote on, policy differences, but the Constitution gives everybody certain inalienable rights.
Yes,
and so that is what the country was founded upon.
This
Yes.
is what I have a problem with, though. Is
You
that,
have a problem with our
Yes, I do.
Constitution.
I do have
Okay.
a problem with it.
I'm
This
glad.
is why, and I know you think that's some big dunk, like, oh, she's. I can't believe she said that out loud, but I'm going to explain why, and everyone's going to agree with me. The fundamental flaw in our government is this idea that, oh, we can just keep changing it. So what it was founded as is not what it has become. We have become this ultra-progressive society, and that was built in. It's a fatal flaw. I'm not a constitutionalist. I don't believe in democracy because democracy means everybody gets a say. I don't want everybody to have a say. I don't want people who have more to gain from voting to take money out of my pocket to have the same say as people who are net positive taxpayers.
I agree with you
I
on
don't
that.
want people who are contributing to the system. This is what it is, though. You have Somalian daycare scammers who are getting millions of dollars for free because of scams, but the rest of us have to go to work, and if we don't pay our taxes, the IRS is down our throats. They're about to put us in jail.
I agree.
You have welfare queens. You have people taking more from the system than they're getting. This is a terrible idea, and the inherent flaw is this idea that just because you live here, you should have a say in how the government is run.
Let's work on those flaws, right? Let's work on those flaws instead of the blanket statement.
It's a fatal flaw. It's built in. It's
keep everybody that I don't like from voting.
Okay, but you didn't let me finish. It's not a bug, it's a feature. You can't take it out. Your classical liberal foundation of everybody has rights. You don't care about duties. You care about rights. You're going to say everyone should have rights. Okay, let's get into that then. Well, first of all, I want to go back to your assertion that we'd have to say can't vote. That's atrocious and ridiculous, and I didn't say that, and I wouldn't say that. However, if didn't vote, that would help. If white women didn't, if all women didn't vote, we would not be battling. We wouldn't be battling. Yeah, it's going to be quite the clip. Women voting is the larger issue, because this is why they wanted to give women the vote, because women are easily swayed. They're easily propagandized. They tend to vote on emotion. Don't interrupt me. I'm not quite done.
Let her finish. Hold on, let her finish.
It's not done. I'm not done.
Go ahead. We should do timing.
Women vote. They've done a lot of, I have a whole book on this at home that I'm reading, where they've done all this research on women and how and why they vote. And they will vote. Things like the Nixon-Kennedy election, women voted for Kennedy not because they knew anything about policy or because he had better ideas. You're still stuck in this paradigm that we're in a war of ideas. Most women don't think that way. They're not going and researching the issues. They go, he's tan and handsome, I like him. He's bald and he's shiny on TV and I don't like him. I don't like his tone. And so they don't vote for him.
I think let me know when
this is like not my opinion. This is what they say in exit polling. This is what all of these political PACs who are desperately trying to get women's votes find when they do the research. Women vote for security. They vote for a nanny state. And they vote for progressive policies because those sound nicer. That's why in every political cycle, you see all these commercials coming from the Democrats going, Republicans want to take away school lunch and they don't want her to have her Medicare anymore, because women see that and they're like, I have to protect the innocent. They're so helpless. Women shouldn't be in politics because it weaponizes our maternal instinct against our own interests. So that's why you see women. You see women trying to fight ICE agents in the streets, even if the illegal guy has, CP and,
liberal women are doing that.
Yeah. Well, I've argued with conservative women
that
about this as well.
ICE
Yes, they see ICE dragging people out. They see getting separated, or they see behind a fence or whatever, and they're like, we can't do it this way, guys, we can't. So even people like Trump will back off on what they want to do because the women freak out and they're like, we can't do this, it's too mean.
Okay, are we done here on your rant
against
like you
women?
Didn't
rant and prattle and meander with your stuff too.
It sounds like you have a lot of disdain for women in general.
Absolutely not. I think women are wonderful in their maternal role. They shouldn't be in politics.
I'm sure that you would love to have kind of a say on what women can and can't do and what their roles in society should be. I disagree with that. I do think women should be encouraged to become mothers, and we need strong women to lead families and have and raise great kids.
This is brutally one-sided, by the way, brutally one-sided.
Biological differences as basically fodder against their right to vote, basically.
Even if it costs you your liberty and it costs you all of your things that you value?
They voted for a majority of them for a Republican in the last election. So it does show that with the right arguments, you can convince people to vote Republican. That is a factual statement of recent elections that happened. So Rachel, if you are just bad at showing people why it's better to not vote and for women to live under the rule of men and only have them make political and financial decisions for them, then just say that, right? In my opinion, I have spent over, I've spent over the last decade on college campuses talking to students from the left, to men and women, basically on why conservative values are better, to sway them to my side. I don't
You
show
don't
up.
have
I don't
conservative
let me
values.
finish. I don't
They're just libertarian values.
tell 18-year-old girls, hey, you're just too dumb, and your hormones fluctuate, and you totally should leave all political
Why not?
decisions to men.
Why not?
Can't handle yourself, and that's why you should totally believe what I say, and stop voting in the future. Let's talk about
I get to reply to that.
Facts.
I get to reply to that first.
No, you went on for quite some time,
Brian.
so let me finish.
I'm
that.
going to reply to
it's
what you just
fair.
said, because you
Hold
just
on.
said you must really hate. You must have all this
Yeah,
disdain.
I think
for,
anybody watching will say that you don't like, or you hold of lesser value than men, and I disagree with that.
Okay, well, I'll prove to you that that's not true.
Okay.
Before the passage of the 19th Amendment, the groups, we had two groups. We had the pro-suffrage side, and
No,
we
why
had,
do you? Why
Hold
do
on,
you?
wait,
not
let her
like-
finish.
we had two different groups, pro-suffrage and anti-suffrage. The vast majority of women were absolutely against the 19th Amendment and women's voting rights. Did all of those women also? Susan B. Anthony herself said if we'd left it up to women to pass women's voting rights, it never would have happened, that all their support came from progressive socialist men. So I'm asking you, my great-grandmother who did not think politics was the role of, was she hateful toward, or did she instinctively know that this was going to create the gender divide that you don't like? The gender divide you're trying to fight was
I don't care
caused by
what
trying to politicize women and put them in men's roles and have them be involved in politics and government. Did those women?
I don't care if a majority of women were against.
Accusing
Let me
me.
finish.
Hold
Let me
on.
finish
Let her
because
finish.
yeah.
Let her finish.
I don't care if 99.9% of women were against having equal values to men. It still doesn't take away from the fact that it is correct that women have equal values
Why?
to men. Because
You prefer it.
No, because this country was founded on protecting the minority, right?
No.
No, it wasn't.
No.
Let me finish, Rachel. This country was founded to protect the individual, right?
No.
We're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic
So
because we
bad.
all have inherent values. So it does not matter that 99.9% of the population wants something if it tramples
So bad.
on the individual's rights, Rachel.
Okay.
This is basic stuff.
Okay, now
from
we're getting
school.
somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere.
And so, again, it doesn't matter if somebody that supported women's suffrage, so women voting,
Yes. Destroy her.
whatever, I don't care. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that it is still right that men and women have equal value when it comes to representation, right? It does not matter that men are physically stronger than women, and that's why, they should then be the ones to vote, because ballots are not the same thing as barbells, Rachel. And again, this is why I am glad to be here.
Sorry, keep going.
I'm glad.
Tiffany, what are you doing?
I'm glad.
Sorry, keep going.
I'm glad to be here because I equally think that there's really toxic voices in the conservative red pill movement that are putting so many people off from what our side really is about. And some people think that in the red pill movement, all these women just want to take away women's rights, and like Andrew Breitbart said that politics is downstream from culture. There's a lot of people in this, manosphere, which I'd include you in that,
I debate, me and Andrew both debate against manosphere guys.
Yes,
so.
but you have a lot of similar opinions, which is that don't have equal value to men and that they should not vote. And I think that's toxic, and it's part of the culture, and it is flowing downstream, and it is affecting politics. And as a result, Rachel, young women in this country are the most left-wing they've ever been in history before. I wonder what that is. And I wonder if telling those young girls that they, are not smart enough to vote, that they are not emotionally mature enough to vote, is going to bring them to our side. I think that that is a personal thing as well, like as an individual. You seem to have a higher emotionality rate than myself, and the same goes for men. That
Blah,
can
blah, blah,
that
blah.
can vary.
You just talk and talk and talk. You're just gish galloping.
We're going to be here.
This is
we're
a
gonna be
gish
here
gallop.
for 5 hours,
But it has
Rachel,
to be a
so
back
we're
and
gonna
forth
be
exchange.
talking
I don't
and
want to
talking
hear
and
about
talking.
all you just gave me was emotions. You
No,
just
I
gave me a
didn't.
whole, I feel like this and I think that
No, I
blah,
didn't feel, and I think I gave you specific
Can you
examples.
land
But
the
now
plane?
I'll turn it back over to you again, Rachel. Why shouldn't vote?
Might I quickly ask a moderation question here? You had posited that women turning to becoming more left-leaning is because of sentiments that Rachel holds.
Yeah.
Rachel, do you believe that this trend in women becoming more left-wing is because of some of this rhetoric, or?
Well, I'll answer that in a second,
Sure.
but first I want to point out that she's a contradiction machine. I had to wait and wait and wait for,
Contradiction machine.
yes, first you were like, ooh, I got her. She doesn't believe in democracy. Ooh, that's a good clip. I'm going to tell everybody she doesn't believe in democracy. And then you said, we're not a democracy. We're a representative republic. So
Constitutional
which is
republic.
it? Do you believe in democracy or no?
I believe in democracy because a constitutional republic is a mix of a constitution that holds specific inalienable rights for people, and then a democracy where people vote on things that are not up for debate. Do you understand those two concepts?
Of course I do.
Okay,
You're the one
great.
that doesn't understand
Fantastic.
those two concepts
Fantastic.
because you don't understand the difference
Okay.
between the founding form of government and the one we have now. You want universal suffrage. That's a progressive position. You just contradicted yourself on
human rights
multiple
position.
counts. You said if I don't agree with voting, that means I. And I said the vast majority of women never wanted votes. They didn't want
And I
votes
said
for
that
women.
does not matter.
They even banned from voting on whether they wanted to vote. It's my turn now. I know you're waiting to speak, but let me finish. Women didn't want to vote. They weren't hateful. I'm not emotional. I'm overly emotional here or something. I'm saying that women are of equal value. That doesn't mean that they have the same roles as men. This idea, what you're doing is muddying the waters and saying, unless we're the same across the board, that's inequality. Again, a leftist position. Time after time after time, you say you're for liberty, you say you're for rights,
Correct.
you say you're conservative,
Yep.
but every idea you articulate is a left-wing progressive idea. And you keep contradicting yourself. Your worldview is, no, I haven't contradicted myself at all.
Okay. Sure.
Me not wanting to be involved in politics does not in any way mean that I hate them. In fact, it's out of love for them that I don't want them involved in this sort of stuff. For the same
Aren't you
reason,
involved
I
in
don't want
politics
them.
right now with this debate that we're having in front of a ton of people?
No, pro-suffrage and anti-suffrage women debated.
But-
Women have always,
okay.
women can talk to each other, and
Why
women
not?
have always debated each other.
Why not do that at home? Why in front of an audience of people? Isn't that getting directly involved in politics?
No, it's
and wanting
not.
to influence politics? Because we're arguing here for different political prescriptions, right? For what we think is best for society. And somebody that might be watching might think, Rachel's a hypocrite because she's
There we go.
over here debating
There we
instead of being
go.
at home with the kids like a good conservative should do. I'm against that, by the
There we go. So we should just let liberals only talk.
people.
I've addressed this criticism so many times, and if you had prepared at all for this debate, if you had watched any of my stuff, you'd know what my answer to this is already.
Go for it.
It was never the case that women couldn't speak in public. It was never the case that women couldn't have opinions, couldn't write books, couldn't have, discourse in public.
Sure about that?
It's what?
You sure? Okay,
I'm sure
let's
about that.
finish-
Yes,
finish
that is
that
a
up.
commonly held myth. That women,
we'll
that
go
people,
back to that one
people
after.
think that women were not allowed. If women were not allowed, how come we had suffragists and feminists publicly speaking, writing books, doing speaking tours, doing debates from the 1700s on? And even before that, my book has a whole chapter where I give multiple examples of women being able to have a voice. Just because they couldn't vote or hold political office, just because there were limitations, that's not oppression. Again, that's a leftist position. For you to say women have to be able to do everything men can do, there should be no gendered roles, we should all have all options open. That's a progressive
all gender
position.
roles. That's a
So
little bit
you're
broad,
saying
but
women should be able to do anything men can do.
I never said that.
Yeah,
but
if men can vote,
have the
women should be
same-
able to vote.
Same
If
legal
men can,
rights and financial rights, yes, but not
Yeah.
do everything men can
why?
do.
Why?
you know.
Why should it be the case that should be able to vote?
Why? Because we have equal inherent values as human beings.
Says who?
Says me. Says
Says you.
God.
Says me.
Right? You know that
No.
we are
Says me.
also
Where does God
equal as well. But let's
We have
go back.
equal value. No,
Let's go
we're
back.
not going to go back. Equal rights. Explain equal rights to me. Why do all
Rights are-
people have the
because
exact
rights
same rights?
are representative of values. I'll go back to the argument of, you know, how certain people shouldn't have equal voice because of, you know, their tax contributions in the U.S. and
So
whatnot.
you
But
don't believe all people should
finish.
vote. So
Let
you
me
don't
finish.
believe no.
Let me-
So you don't
let me
believe all
finish.
people should vote.
Let me finish. To get to the point, the more recent point we were
That's
making.
ridiculous.
You said that women could freely express themselves and, you know, do all of that. Are you denying that we're, I guess, silenced in any way, shape, or form in recent history? Let's say in the 19th century, the 20th century, that, you know, if they tried to be vocal about their beliefs, that they were not repressed in any kind of way, yes or no?
If you're talking about like stigma, like people didn't like it or it was looked down upon, so what? I'm saying it was not illegal.
No, I'm not talking
It
about
was never
stigma.
illegal.
Let Rachel finish. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So to that point, then, it is clear and documented reality, for example, that if women, even in the 20th century, right, up until the 1960s, we were still doing.
Uh-oh.
So. No, not just
This
women.
is another myth. I'm glad
Let me
she
finish,
brought this
let
up.
me finish talking.
Uh-huh.
Not
Go
just
ahead.
women, but
Big
a
mistake.
majority of women. Absolutely, yes. This was happening
Because they're more crazy.
1960s. So loud, opinionated, could be easily diagnosed with something like
So
hysteria
bad.
or anxiety or anything, be carted off to an institution, and then be recommended different medications like opium tinctures, right? Happy pills for moms that were acting too crazy and that were overwhelmed. Forms of heroin, alcohol, nerve tonics, right? A very popular one before Valium, which happened in the 1960s, was barbiturates, right? From the 1900s to the 1950s. So in recent history, you could say that voices have been stifled and repressed, and I'm obviously against that. So you can't say that, no, women just had a right to say whatever they want, do whatever they want in recent history, and there was just equality for them. This is documented facts and documented history.
Okay, first of all,
Go ahead.
I don't think anybody should be able to just do whatever they want. That's you, the
agree.
libertarian. That's you, the libertarian leftist, who thinks people should just be able to do whatever they want.
To clarify, 2 seconds, I do believe that people should do what you want as long as you don't hurt others and you don't
Left
and
wing.
you don't take their stuff.
Left wing.
Yeah.
So do
Do
what
what-
thou wilt.
Do what you want.
Do what
don't
thou
hurt-
wilt.
Don't take their stuff. However, myself, I personally want to live my life
How I want it.
in a more traditional conservative
Uh-huh.
role.
Driana,
What everybody else does
That is
not
that
my
is the
business.
epitome of the left libertarian. That
It
is
is
a
in your
left
opinion.
No, not in my opinion. That
No, it
is
is
the
not.
definition of left libertarian politics that you just articulated. Do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anybody else, bro.
And don't take their
And
stuff.
taxation is theft, man. And like, I wouldn't choose it, but you should be able to do what you want. You know what I'm saying? Without daddy government like breathing down your neck and stuff, bro.
That's what our
Absolutely.
founding
You
fathers
should-
believed.
You are not
No,
a
it's not.
Republican.
That's what our
No, they
founding
didn't.
fathers
No, they
believed.
You're not a
Yes, they
Republican,
did.
you're not a conservative, and you're most definitely a feminist. Now it's my
Sure.
turn to finish.
Rachel.
All your nonsense about men were given all the time
Oh, you
too.
do?
I did
Yep.
a whole
Oh, well, then
project
don't-
on
no
this.
more.
But
on-
mostly
No. On MK Ultra, no,
Disproportionately
be quiet.
women.
It's my turn.
Go
My
ahead.
turn. You're getting a little emotional.
Yeah, I know.
People can
Getting a
Google.
little emotional,
No, I'm
not
not.
able to control your yapping.
No, I'm
yap,
not.
yap.
But people can Google stuff for themselves. and
Yes, they
see
can.
those
And
statistics.
if they get my book, they're going to read all about that too. Clearly, you didn't read the book. You could have saved yourself so much time with all these
Sure.
bad arguments if you had taken the time to have them debunked before this. But no, men were also locked up in mental institutions, forced to give them. That was not a gender-specific thing whatsoever.
was.
There's always, no, let me clarify. Let me help you here. I'm going to educate you a little bit. Women have always, everywhere in every culture, and this is verified right now by 2 huge studies that looked at all different cultures around the world in 2009, and then they did a follow-up several years later. It's called The Paradox of Women's Happiness. Everywhere are more prone to mental illness, anxiety, depression, and all types of mental problems. That is not men oppressing us. That happens to be a fact of how women are. And yes, most of it's biology and hormones, but a lot of it is just the fact that female constitutions are much more susceptible to negative effect. This is a well-established fact in clinical psychology as well. They wouldn't even deny it. Yes, more men commit, but women attempt it more. Men are just better at actually following through. You know, it's that whole men being better at stuff thing again, I guess. But so that's a lie what you just told. And let's go back to this idea that, like, do you think that all men everywhere could vote before the 19th? Do you think that it was all the men could vote and they were like, don't let the girls vote, you guys. We have to keep our boot on their neck.
There were property rights. There were property distinctions. So some men that didn't own property could not vote. There were a lot of requirements. There were literacy tests as well.
Yes.
So yes,
There were poll taxes. There were religious restrictions. There were all kinds of restrictions on men's voting.
All of them that were deemed what? Unconstitutional, Rachel. Right?
After
we,
what? After the progressive era, when progressives took control of the government, they passed the 19th Amendment. That was a progressive agenda, ma'am. You're not a conservative. I hate to break this to you. You are a liberal
I love this so much.
progressive.
The U.S.
I love this so much. The femcons being exposed.
Right.